if you would have asked me to bet whether or not the Keystone XL pipeline would ever be resurrected, I would have bet strongly against it. And the reason for that is the last time it was rejected, which is by President Joe Biden in 2021, the proponent, TC Energy, said, "That's it, we're done. We're not coming back to this project ever. We're walking away and we're out of here." However, they didn't count on Mark Carney. The Prime Minister was in Washington yesterday talking to President Donald Trump, mostly about trade issues. And according to Rosemary Barton of CBC, who interviewed a source who was in the room, it was Carney himself who brought up the issue of Keystone XL again to Trump. Now, if you told me that Trump was the one that brought it up, I would have agreed, because Trump was always a big supporter. Obama canceled it in 2015. Trump brought it back by issuing a presidential permit in 2017 when he became president, Trump 1.0, and then Biden canceled it in 2021. But no, Trump was favorable. He liked the project. So if he had brought it up, I would have said, okay, I understand that. What the heck is Carney doing, bringing it up? So what I'm going to talk about in this video is what the Keystone XL pipeline is or was, what was proposed, and then how it fits into this discussion around pipelines that we're currently having and what we should be looking for going forward, because this issue is not put to bed by any stretch. So first of all, the pipeline was 830,000 barrels a day of ultra sour heavy crude, which is basically diluted bitumen from Alberta, and it would go down to the refineries in the Gulf Coast. Now, it's important to remember that currently there's a shortage. The supply is tight in these refineries, and there's 5 million barrels a day of heavy crude refining capacity in the U.S. Almost all of it was configured especially for Alberta heavy crude. Okay, so they were designed to take that crude. And Canada already owns, or Alberta, I guess, owns 60 to 65% of the entire U.S. market for heavy crude. So about 3.2, 3.5 million barrels a day. So big player. And in that market, the Alberta crude is the low-cost competitor. It is the most competitive barrel compared to the Latin American producers like Mexico and Venezuela and Brazil and so on. So you've got a shortage, you got a tight supply in Texas and Louisiana. You've got a project that could link the low-cost and competitive oil that Alberta provides. Okay, so there is maybe some economic rationale for why the Prime Minister put it back on the table. But there's another angle to this, because yesterday, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith picked a bun fight with BC Premier David Eby. You watched the video that I did yesterday about it, but essentially she called him un-Canadian and parochial, and he responded in kind, but with a few choice words of his own. And then today, apparently, Smith was back in the media saying mean things, and we see all of her UCP government proxies, people who are associated with her government, who are on social media saying absolutely nasty things, unwarranted things, really, about Eby. So this is not just a one-off. I think this is the start, the opening salvo in the war over the proposed pipeline, or the, speculative pipeline from Alberta to either Prince Rupert or Kitimat on the West Coast, the one that Eby opposes. So that's kind of context here. And so you could see maybe that Carney is looking at that and going, "Oh, I don't want to get drawn into a big political fight between BC and Alberta. Maybe I can find an alternative." And so maybe he, from his point of view, since there's maybe a market opportunity in Texas, Louisiana, he puts the Keystone XL back on the table, and that could be the pipeline that he offers to Danielle Smith and the Alberta-based oil and gas industry. And he says, "Look, I can't, this other one is contentious, may not get built, but you can have this one, and yeah, it's down to the United States, but this is what we can get done in the shorter term." So maybe that's his motivation here. But this is this is all kinds of problems because one of the things he did, remember when a couple months ago, 6 or 8 months ago, when we were talking about the Trump tariffs, and he held a press conference and he said, uh, it's over. We are done with further integration of the Canadian American economies. From now on, we're going to look for customers in Asia and Europe. We'll build the infrastructure to get our natural resources and our products out to those markets, and that's going to be our focus, and our focus is not going to be south. So this is if he brought this up, that's in direct contravention of the comment he made earlier, which was really seen as a strategic pivot, and I think that enjoyed a lot of support amongst Canadians. So, but who's going to build this thing? So TC Energy, as I mentioned earlier, said absolutely no way, because you can imagine, you know, have a Democrat president in 2029. If Trump put it back on the table, the Democratic president then cancels it, and TC Energy is again stuck with big losses. The Enbridge which is the other big Canadian pipeline company, has said no, absolutely not. It's deploying its capital in the U.S. to build natural gas pipelines. It's not interested. The only one left standing is, yes, you and me, the taxpayer, because you'll remember that Justin Trudeau bought the Trans Mountain Expansion project from Kinder Morgan and built the Trans Mountain Expansion pipeline at a cost of $34 billion. So he set the precedent. And if there was no way to get a pipeline built except that the government did it, would Mark Carney create a crown corporation, and maybe with some buy-in from Alberta and Saskatchewan, any other province that wanted to buy in, then the crown corporation would build it. Would they do that? I don't know. Maybe. This is all speculation at this point, but trying to make sense of Carney's comment, or his willingness to raise Keystone XL with Trump, it's hard to play it out any other way, and it really and try to find a rationale for why he would do that, why this is now maybe seen as a viable product or a viable project. So the two things that I'm going to be looking for as we move forward, because this is very fluid, it's very complex, and we don't have enough information yet to say with certainty what, the federal government's position is and so on. So I'm going to be looking at two things. First of all, I really think the Prime Minister needs to clarify what was said or not said in his meeting with Donald Trump. Did he bring it up? What did he say? I mean, maybe this is one of those, casual remarks. Maybe not. Maybe this was discussed as a serious project. We need to know that. I think there's enough, the story has caught fire all across Canada. Canadians need to know. The other thing I'm going to be watching is this fight between Danielle Smith and David Eby between BC and Alberta. If it continues to get nastier, as I kind of suspect it will, that's going to play into the calculation that Prime Minister Carney makes with regard to any other pipeline, whether it's Keystone XL or one up to the Arctic or, one to Churchill, Manitoba, wherever it is. That's going to play into his calculation. So things are very fluid at the moment. We don't have a lot of, all the information that we would like, but that's the situation as it stands now. And, Energy Media will be reporting on this. So check back in on our channel on a regular basis. Subscribe if you haven't, and click the little bell. That'll send you notifications. And we'll look forward to giving you news as it breaks.